So, a few years back, I got called to one of the main hospitals, actually in Europe, and they tell me, apparently, we have some corrupted data. Apparently, the integrity of our health records has been affected by a potential cyber attack. And we try to understand what one should do. Should we stop the operation of the hospital? Should we keep going? What is the process for that? They start calling all these consultants. They call forensic team, incident response, mitigation, intelligence, even darknet intelligence. Then they get a ransomware note. They call a negotiator. They bring up the lawyers, the regulatory expert, communication expert. Now we have something like 20 consultants in the room. And they try to take a decision what one should do. Should we negotiate a ransomware payment? Should we actually stop operating the hospital? What one can do in such a case? And I saw chaos. I saw so many consultants, smart, knowledgeable, wise, but very hard for them to establish actually a basic decision when human life are at stake because data was corrupted. The second story that I have to tell you is actually a company that's doing SaaS solutions. They serve some of the largest organizations in the world with their SaaS solution. They're doing some kind of log analysis for the largest organizations in the world. And now they've realized that their system has been hacked and apparently sensitive data of their clients exfiltrated. And now they have a question. They have no idea how much data leaked. For what clients? How is that got actually executed? And now they're starting consulting. Should we inform our clients? Should we have a disclosure? Do we know actually the extent of the investigation? What will be the impact on our reputation? What will be actually the impact on our operation? If we disclose it, might we actually worsen the situation because now the threat actor would understand about the incident? And they actually start debating about what's the process. And again, I have like 20 people in the room trying in real time to take a decision. That was a chaos in the making. And the third story I have to tell you, it's a financial company. They're just about to go public on NASDAQ. They're an Israeli-based company with headquarters in the UK, just about to go public in merging with a US company being IPO'd in NASDAQ. Everybody knows that they're going to get IPO, so as the hackers. Someone is actually encrypting 76 of their servers. And they find themselves at the midst of the IPO, now being asked to pay ransomware of $30 million. They are regulated by the financial regulators. They are actually operational, and they need to take a decision. Would we pay actually $30 million now for the extorter and actually continue potentially with the IPO? Should we not pay? Should we negotiate? What's the process? And by the way, everybody starts throwing some speculation. If we pay the ransomware, we can continue with the IPO. The other is saying if we actually pay the ransomware, we would never be able to continue with the IPO because actually the SEC authorities will require us first to publish a report. One is saying let's go public about that we are under attack. The other is saying no, if we actually inform that we are under attack, probably we'll have a problem with our operations. And again, what I saw in this dynamic is the following. It's a chaos in the making. I saw actually people trying for the first time to take decisions, how should we pursue this incident? One was a major data leak, the other was a major ransomware, the other was an integrity attack. But what was common for all these three incidents, I've managed more than 100 in my life, but what was common to all of these incidents? They were trying the same way that companies are currently managing a cyber incident. They bring consultants. Most of these consultants are not familiar with the company. It's the first time actually they are called to the company. They've never worked with each other. They don't know what's the company processes, regardless of what process actually the company implemented. They don't know your tech stack. And now they need in real time to start actually managing the most sensitive incident you'll ever have. And they're trying to do the basic, establish situational understanding, decide how to communicate with each other. What's the decision-making process? How do we collaborate? How do we actually form our messaging, our disclosure? How do we assess if the situation has changed? How do we communicate with third parties? And all of that they're trying to do in real time, improvising. And I saw chaos in the making. I've been to a situation that you had, and as big as the company is, and I've dealt with some Fortune 500 companies, that you have 20, 30, 40 consultants in the room, each smart and knowledgeable and coming with their domain of expertise, but the basic of how actually we work together, what process to follow, how do we coordinate, how do we take decisions, is in real time being decided. And there's one recipe actually for failure, is improvising in real time. It's a recipe for failure, because you've never done that before. You don't know the process. These people have not worked with each other, not familiar with the company. Do you really trust them now in real time to take the most dramatic decision of your company? And quite often, actually, the damages intensify. Companies doing unnecessary business interruption. I've seen a company which is actually a pharmaceutical company. They had a data leak. They decided to stop operation of their pharmacy. Preventive measure. It took them 6 months until the FDA let them open the factory again. I've seen a company actually in the crypto exchange. Instead of actually doing something simple, double trigger actually for transactions, they decide to stop operation on the cryptocurrency under attack. All the clients actually left. Again and again you see these companies making the wrong decision. The wrong decision about messaging. They make a decision, they want to actually tone down the incident. So they say, not a major incident, no real harm. And then there's reputation damages, lawsuit, class actions. Quite often they don't want to share, they don't want to be transparent, they don't communicate with their stakeholders, with their employees, with their third parties, and that leads to loss of trust and business churn. And I've seen again and again these damages intensifying in crisis. And that's led me to ask, actually we issued something like an industry report. We called it the Incident Response Management. We went and asked 540 security executives, most of them CISOs in the US of large companies, what's your actually attitudes, what's your level of readiness towards managing an incident if you have one? The numbers were shocking to us. And by the way, in order to keep it professional, it was managed by a professional surveys company, not by a vendor, so make sure that the results are actually bulletproof. See the answers. 70% that believe that the internal misalignment, meaning the way that executives work with each other, is actually causing more damage and chaos than the threat actor itself. 55% of them saying that actually they experience an incident they've never rehearsed, meaning it's the first time in real time they try to handle that. We've seen numbers as kind of like 41% says that because of lack of understanding how to take decision critical was delayed. And when you ask them what one ought to do, most of them believe that they're not doing the right thing now. 93% of them say, exactly as I think Daniel said earlier, and many, AI actually can be a good assistant in this time, empowering some of your processes. 94% of them says we shouldn't be reactive, waiting for the incidents. Let's be proactive, pre-incident. So that's what happened. Currently, that's the way most organizations actually manage crisis. It's a total failure. Try to think for that for a second. Companies believe that the PDF, meaning a static file with a process, sometimes like 50, 100% process, would be the process they'll use during crisis. It's a static paper, never really integrated within the organization, that cannot change as the crisis unfolds. Never in my life I saw a company actually using their procedure during crisis. It's something good for compliance, they never use it. Another thing about coordinations. Companies are now believing that they'll be able to coordinate in real time. Is that the case? That's human nature? That when we have a crisis, we'll be able to have 20 or 30 new people, most of them consultants with different incentives, sometimes billed by the hour, and you believe that they'll coordinate good in real time? Without any communication platform, without coordination platform, without any experience of coordinator? So that's a total failure. Another thing, most companies have the outdated response plan. In response plan they drafted once, and it's like archaeology. You have different versions based on who was the manager and when they updated them, and actually never tested them. These plans are not tested, they are not rehearsed. Do you really believe in anything else in your life that a paper that was never tested would be your cure if you have an incident? Does that work for you for fire, for earthquake? Never to test your processes? And another thing, all of this is static. And this static does not actually enable you to change as the crisis unfolds. And in the same time, as many explained to us so beautifully, the threat actor has changed. They now use agentic AI to actually automate the processes. If 5 years ago you were at a conference, people will tell you that normally it takes 270 days for the threat actor on average before the time that they enter the organization till they actually exploit. Now it's down to 3 weeks on average. It's a very different time that you have. And another thing that we understand, the threat actor actually now automating a lot of the attacks. So do we really believe that the way to respond to cyber incidents would keep professional, like consultants coming with paper trying to coordinate in real time? That's certainly not the response that is there. So that's actually lead to a new category in security. Gartner had announced recently a missing piece in the security stack. They call it CRM, Cyber Incident Response Management. And they say basically that everything that is broken should shift to technology. Whichever vendor you pick, whichever solution, but the same logic applies. Actually, you need a system which will be enterprise-wide discipline, meaning connecting all the stakeholders, the technology, the intelligence, the legal PR on a single panel. They believe that actually you should not have static documents anymore, but dynamic plans that can change as the crisis unfolds. Be actually aware of the way the crisis unfolds. Another thing, they believe that with technology you can be ready. Build your plans according to your risk model. Customize them according to your tech stack and simulate. See how well you'll perform, don't guess. Another thing they believe, the ability to orchestrate everybody. So you need a way for everybody to communicate, coordinate, and collaborate on the same platform. And the last thing they believe, you should utilize AI for a lot of the decision making. There's expertise out there, how to take decision, you can utilize it. So this new category actually, and I don't want to go too much deep into that, but led to Gartner to announce that this piece is missing in security and should actually be complementing now your security stack. So the belief is that you need it both in the readiness, something to help you to build customized playbooks, not only that it will be compliance, enable the collaboration with external party, meaning onboard all your experts on the platforms, and to be able to onboard not only your team, also your processes on one platform. But then, train, train, train. It's building the muscle memory and the ability to check how your processes comply. And the last thing, during crisis, you need a platform to enable you. Communication and coordination, having your plans orchestrated across all stakeholders but dynamically change as the crisis unfolds, the ability to actually have command and control tools, to have visibility into a situation and understand it, what is status, take decisions based on informed data and update the data as the crisis unfolds, the ability to take actually decisions informed and assisted by embedded expertise, and the last thing, the ability actually to create reporting and dashboard during crisis. So the idea is you plan ahead of time. You build your response plan according to your threat model. You're able to simulate a crisis and test your plans with your procedures, with your technology, and with your team. See how well you'll perform. And when a crisis unfolds on the same platform, you'll be able to onboard your team to escalate, coordinate, and collaborate. But the way a crisis should be managed. Because the idea, exactly as many said earlier, it can't be that the threat actor has progressed to have AI-powered platform, automated attacks, very fast kill chain, in which the responders actually keep with the pace of consultants, slow onboarding them, paper documents. This equation must change, and technology is actually brought now to solve it. And it's AI at its core, understanding the data of the crisis and enable you to take smart decisions in real time, orchestrated across all stakeholders. So this new category is actually one of the fastest growing categories now in security. Understanding that we failed in response. I used to be a venture capitalist. I spent a lot of time investing in prevention and detection. But we've realized we need to change also response because we can't wait for the incident without the tooling. So the future would look like that. That's, by the way, thanks to the animator Jonathan Waxman. It wouldn't look that chaotic, consultants with paper, kind of like, tearing their hair, trying to take decisions without data. It will be actually much more the way that we believe it should operate. Data-driven, centralized, all stakeholders coordinated, orchestrated, and working according to plan. Because we believe that actually readiness before incidents creates clarity when you have the incidents.